Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling Diaries. Check us out on YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more content we release weekly. Also, check us out on our audio streams at Apple Podcast, which is on off of iTunes and Spotify. And there's also a bunch of hosts. I'm not going to go into all of them, but check us out. Mostly if you can listen to podcasts anywhere, we're probably on there. So check out the Wrestling Diaries, follow us. And we have an awesome guest on today, a good friend of mine who I got to spend some time with, I don't know, several months ago in Central Florida, Mr. Jeffrey Wright. Jeff Wright.
What's up, brother?
Now, for people listening to this, and if they didn't know, and they're just tuning into this one, Jeff's wife, Elvira, the Russian beauty, was on some episodes back, and she helps run the clinic that he's in right now. So just a little footnote for people out there. What's up, Jeff?
Oh, not much, man. Been a hell of a few weeks, but everything's good.
What's been going on with you? Why can I ask?
Well, let's see. The week of Thanksgiving, we had got invited to go to a Monday night football game. We had gone to the Bucks game, and we were sitting up in this nice luxury suite. We do advertising with the NBC affiliate, and so they invited us to come up, and we stayed till halftime. It was kind of boring, and I was getting tired. So we started walking to the car, and I started getting tight chested here. My arm was going numb, and honestly, I thought I was having indigestion or something. And so it took me a while to get to the car, and once I got there, I was okay. And then, so I just went home, went to bed. The next morning I got up and started feeling again. I called my doctor, and doctor said, take an aspirin and get the to the ER right now. So I did. And, I got there, and the pains were, getting maybe a little worse. And, so anyway, the bottom line is they put a stent in my right artery. It was 80% blocked, which is insane because I work out every day. I eat right. I ride a bicycle probably 150 miles a week. I walk a couple of hours every day. And it just happened just like that.
Did they feel like they came up with some kind of underline for what may have caused it based on what you just said? Like, did the doctor have a thesis on why that went down?
Well, a couple things. Number one, they said that my family history had part of it to do with it because my father had heart issues. He passed away in his early 70s with a heart attack. But he said that quite honestly, I mean, I was telling him about all my eating habits and all my exercising and all that stuff, and he says, it doesn't really matter what you did. What you've been doing in the last 4 or 5 years is what you did in the last 40 years is what's made all this happen. So, all this stuff's cumulative and it all adds up. Crazy.
Yeah, that is really crazy. How are you doing now though with all that? I didn't even know this stuff was going on.
I'm doing good. I tell you, right after, let's say I went in on Tuesday morning, came out Wednesday afternoon, and then, felt like $1 million. And then, that Thursday was Thanksgiving. Me and Elvira went to Naples for the weekend. And, it was like nothing had happened. So I went from taking no pills to taking 11 pills every day.
Yeah, I saw your post on that, man.
And like I told him, I don't have to take those pills. I get to take those pills.
Right. A little optimism goes a long way, brother.
It really does. It's all in how you change your mindset from have to get to on almost anything that you do.
Well, I mean, based on talking to you now and looking at you, you seem pretty vibrant and pretty healthy. And I wouldn't, if you wouldn't have told me this, I wouldn't have known. Like you seem like you always seem.
I mean, it was interesting because it just kind of just hit me all at once. I had no idea that I had anything like this. I actually had a heart scan done 3 years ago. No, and it showed nothing. So I don't know. It's just, it's just one of those things, you can't take anything for granted because you can lose it any day.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's a lot that's good from this too. Like I feel like it helps people become more conscientious of their body and their health. Not, I mean, like you're already healthy, but I'm saying like somebody in another aspect who's not eating well or exercising, and this happens to him now. It puts in a perspective like, oh, maybe I need to kind of change some things up in my life. And then even for you, I feel like it puts a better perspective on the things you appreciate, right? Just because you realize how fragile we are.
Yeah, well, it reminds you to be, grateful for everything that you do. You know, I wake up in the morning and like, God, I get to live another day. I get to do all these things. I get to call my mother. I get to go visit my kids. I get to go do all this stuff. That if you look at it from that standpoint, it brings a more grateful attitude to your mindset for sure.
Sure, absolutely. Now, Jeff, let me ask. I mean, I know what you do, obviously, but for people listening to this first time, getting to know you on the podcast, what's your profession, sir? What do you do? What pays your bills and gives you all those
Well,
fancy drinks at night?
uh, I have to trim down on the fancy drinks at night
Yeah,
now.
I figured as much.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, they said guys that drink a lot don't have these problems.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the blood's just thin. So, don't have one bourbon, have two. Uh,
Nice.
no, I own a life insurance brokerage company. We're a national company. We do business in all 50 states and in several territories around the country, and we market life insurance. I know it's like the most boring thing in the world, but we market life insurance to families all over the country. We're in several niche markets. We do things in government. We do things in public service. We do private businesses, and of course, we do a lot of individuals. But my primary business is the oversimplify it. We're kind of a wholesaler. So we don't really do business with the public per se. We build and distribute products to agency groups that sell those products for us. So I'm not knocking on anybody's door every day, but I used to.
That's good though. Like you used to, and now you're in that really kind of sweet spot, right? As a wholesaler, you just kind of sit back. Business people come to you and they get your product. That's good stuff. My mom is she gets. I mean, this is more limited terms. You're talking about life insurance. She sells just things like miscellaneous things, and she buys from a wholesaler, and then she has like a little like mom and pop thing going on, and she sells it out at retail. So she makes 50% profit, 100% profit, 30% profit, and she hustles on the side doing that. So wholesale's it's a great market. The people that my mom buys from, they definitely ain't hurting. I'll say that. They ain't hurting at all.
Well, and I do, I do Zoom calls almost every day to these agency groups that do business with us. Which is actually one reason why I do the almost daily rants on Facebook, because they kind of help me, with those, and gives me, and actually a lot of the material that I do those rants about is from the crazy that I hear from these people that I talk to on the Zoom calls. Sometimes I'll do something and I'll be talking about something, and I'll have 6 people either call me or message me saying, "Hey, why were you talking about me?" And I didn't even mention their name.
That's so rando.
But Mitchell, since the little heart issue that I had, the Zoom calls I've been having lately, you can imagine what those rants have been about. Yeah, the Zoom calls, I ranted with them about 2 things. Number one, they need to take better care of themselves, which, trust me, a lot of these guys really do. They really do need to take care of themselves better. And the other thing too is that it really puts into perspective what it is that we do for a living. We don't just sell insurance to people and make money. That's not it. the big thing that we do is, or the purpose of what we do, if somebody dies in an untimely manner, and when is there ever a timely manner for someone to die? When we do that, we're providing security for their family to move on, because I have seen it happen time after time after time again. I've heard one story after another where a guy didn't buy any insurance because he either thought it was too expensive, and for most people it's not. Or he thought he was going to live forever, and then this guy dies, and his wife and family are just hanging in the wind. And I always, I kind of, I've never said this on a call, on a Facebook thing, but on the Zoom calls, I say it all the time. And that is, nothing quite, nothing quite delivers the message that I never really cared or gave a shit about you than dying and leaving you nothing.
That's so true. Sadly, they just don't think about it. And I know exactly what you mean too, because I've seen people in that situation as well. And, I used to work with a nonprofit organization, and there was, a couple widowers with a bunch of kids whose significant other kicked the bucket and they didn't set up anything. So that's why these people were coming to this nonprofit organization to get food and clothes and support. So, I mean, it's really like people need to be more conscientious of that. It's because you're investing in your family. You're trying to take care of them. So just in case something bad happens.
And, and the thing is, like we always say, insurance is never going to be cheaper for you than it is today, because it goes up. The older you get, the more expensive it gets. And, and sadly, people in your age group, in your generation, a lot of guys think they're going to live forever and whatnot. And they can buy $1 million worth of life insurance cheaper than someone my age could buy $100,000 for. Yeah. And, and they don't do it. And then now, I have it, but me at 55 years old, just had a heart stent put in. I couldn't buy insurance from anyone now. I couldn't. I would be lucky if nothing else happened. I'd be lucky if I could buy anything in 10 years. And then that makes the cost, the cost is just astronomical from there.
What's the age range for when insurance like skyrockets? Like what age is it that you hit?
It generally skyrockets after 60.
After 60?
After 60 is when it really skyrockets. But, up to 40, up to age 40, it's actually quite inexpensive. And there's lots of, and the other sad thing about it is that, a lot of the people that sell insurance, I hate to say it because this is even true with a lot of our guys. They're just out there to make a buck. I mean, that's it. They're not genuinely interested in educating people on what is best for them. And there are some, especially for young people, there's some truly amazing stuff out there that's inexpensive, that's not only going to protect you, but can actually help you build quite a nice retirement down the road for not a lot of money. But a lot of these guys either don't do it because they don't understand it, or don't want to take the time to understand it, or they just they don't want to spend the time explaining it to anyone. So it's a big disservice. The few guys that do it financially do very, very, very well. But the guys that are lazy, it's the 90-10 rule in our business that applies to any other. 90, the 10% do 90% of the business. And that's true of any industry.
I feel like that's kind of how the world works too, right?
Absolutely. Even physicians, we're about to, in this space where I am right now, we're about to put a marijuana doctor in here. Um,
Who is it, Dr. Mo? Can I
no,
ask that?
no, but
Oh,
Dr. Mo came to visit.
You got quiet, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have asked." Is this like top
No,
secret?
no, Mo came to visit, and a few weeks ago we went to a black tie event down in St. Pete. He looked
He
like
cleans up
James
nice.
Bond.
Yeah, he cleans up
He
super
does clean
nice.
up good. Yeah, absolutely he does. Um, but the thing is that a lot of that's true of even physicians, because especially here in Florida, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a doctor. They're everywhere. And a lot of the physicians here don't make money. I mean, and that's what the big appeal for a lot of them is the cannabis industry, so they can basically come in here and evaluate patients and write them prescriptions.
Yeah, I can imagine cannabis is a big market in Florida right now because people go down
It's a
there to
big deal,
escape.
yeah.
They go down there to escape and get away from their troubles and get spiritual with the ocean and the beach. So I can't imagine. What's the legislation down
right.
there? Is it medicinally legal there in Florida?
Yeah,
Medically, I
there's
don't know.
it's not recreational. It's just medicinal.
Just okay, medicinal. Okay. Yeah. Well, so when are you going to get this doctor and this pot doctor in? When is this going to happen?
Hopefully in January is when he's coming.
What's all of his credentials, if I can ask?
Actually, I don't know. That would be a question for my wife, because she talked to like 7 of them and finally landed on this guy. And I don't know. Actually, I say guy. That's not true. It's actually a woman. Credentials. If I told you anything, I'd be lying to you. I really don't know.
I think that's really awesome that y'all are adding that to the clinic. It's huge. I mean, like from the podcast from Dr. Mo, he educated me a lot on medical marijuana and the power of THC and CBD. I was actually taking CBD for a little bit for sleep, and it really helped out a lot. But I think that's a genius idea, man, because the industry for that stuff is booming. And did you see the legislation passed for them to legalize it federally? Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's going to the is it going to the House to get voted on or something like that, for marijuana to be decriminalized in the United States on a federal level. Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, with all the bullshit that's been going on in politics, I've kind of I stopped watching the news. I can't watch it.
Yeah. The only reason I do that is because I have a lot of pot friends. They're like, "Hey man, you got to check this out." So yeah, I mean, that's a good thing that you don't, man. People are rotting their brains out with that right now. I got better things to do.
They do have better things to do. They just don't realize it. I have a friend of mine who lives down in Boca, who I've known him for 35 years. He and I disagree on almost everything, but I respect his opinion. He respects mine, because I actually know why I know what I believe, and he's a real smart guy, and he knows why he believes what he believes, and I respect that. Most people don't. Most people, their opinions, formed on whatever bullshit that they read on Facebook or whatever, on clips. And so, but even him, after the election, he called me up. He was so excited that Biden won. I got to tell you, I really didn't care who won. A lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but I truly don't, because if your life depends on who's sitting in that office, your life is really screwed up. It doesn't depend on who's in the White House. It depends on who's running the White House. It depends on who's running your house.
Boom. Amen, brother. Amen. I attribute that whole concept of people doing that. Everybody builds these echo chambers, and we human beings are very tribal. We're very tribal. We want to be on some tribe, some team. I relate it to, like, I live here in Alabama, right? The Alabama-Auburn rivalry, the Iron Bowl, it's big. So you got to be on one side. You're either Roll Tide or you're War Eagle. And then, like, people literally, they fight and die. People have killed each other over a football.
Oh, I know.
I understand that politics is more important because these are people that are running our country and our economy and stuff. But my point is that people are always so quick to want to jump on some team. You got to be on a team. You got to be on a team. You're Alabama, you're Auburn, you're the White Sox, or you're the Cubs. Like, you know.
You know, the guy who runs a lot of my insurance operations actually lives in Auburn. And
really?
Oh
He
yeah,
a big Auburn fan?
Oh my God, one of the biggest Auburn fans ever.
They got destroyed in this last Iron Bowl, though, man. I bet he was hurting.
Oh, really? Yeah, you know, well, he didn't call me, so I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me, because I'll give him out of tomorrow.
Yeah, they got blown out.
Yeah, but he, but you know, the thing is that, you know, I used to tell him, just like I told my friend about the, you know, the presidential race or whatever, but being a lot of your people are in Alabama, I'll use the Auburn, Alabama analogy, because, you know, if your happiness, if your well-being, if your next 12 months of everything depends on what happens in a football game played by a bunch of kids, half of them are probably going to rob liquor stores, you know, when they're out of school. Okay. If your happiness is dependent on that, there is something seriously f***ed in your life. You know, if you would take the, you know, so if you take the, you know, the presidential, if you take the presidential race, either guy, if you were a Biden guy, Trump guy, it really doesn't matter. If you had this much enthusiasm for the presidential race, and, you know, and my guy in Boca did, you know, he wasn't just a guy putting stuff on social media. He was making calls. He was putting out yard signs. He was knocking on doors.
Had the flags going.
Oh, he was after it big time. Okay. But, and, you know, and I asked him this, and he thought for a second, and he agreed with me 100%. If you had this much enthusiasm for the race or the Auburn, Alabama game, either one, and you dwindled it down to that much and took 10% of that energy, of that enthusiasm, and applied it to making your relationships better, you know, bettering your health, eating better, making more money, you know, starting a business, any of that, you know, how much better would the world be? You know, if they would take that enthusiasm and take that energy and burn it as fuel into something that actually matters, other than a football game or a presidential race.
I mean, if they did, this discussion would never exist in real life if all those people did that. People, like I said, we're tribal, man. You know, we're cavemen and women. That's what we want. We want to be on a team.
You know, and there's definitely a team now. I mean, you know, I knew that there were a lot of, you know, a lot of sheep in the country. I just didn't know there were this many. Yeah. You know, the mass warriors, and some have a legit reason for it, but most of them really don't. I went to our little fish market today, and I was in there wearing a mask. And I mean, I was not wearing a mask. I was the only guy that wasn't. You know, it's outside. Why would I? And this guy says, you know, how come you're not wearing a mask? I said, well, because I don't want to. He says, God, I wish I could do that. My wife would kill me. I'm like, well, you should grow some balls and be your own guy. You know, but it's sad though. You know, but you know, when this whole COVID thing started, and I don't know if we're segueing way off our topic, but the only thing I'll say about the tribal thing is that when the COVID thing started, before any of the mask regulations came down, before any of that, I knew that it was going to be bad. I really did. And when we started doing all these Zoom calls with all these insurance agents, because we had to reinvent our business, Mitchell, we had to reinvent it overnight. And I told them, I said, this COVID is probably not going to kill any of you, but I guarantee you it's going to reveal you, and it's going to reveal every single person that you know.
I tried to tell people, it's not that I don't take it serious. I do take it serious. It is a real virus. It has hurt people, made people sick. But I also am like, where were all these people? Because everybody's like, oh, people are dying. Why aren't you taking this more serious? Well, where were you when like tuberculosis is killing people? worldwide. Like what about like all the cancer and overweight? What about the starving children in all the multitudes of countries in Africa that are walking and wailing through like streets full of shit and piss, that are starving bellies with parasites in them? Where were you? Like, where was the virtue signaling for that? That's what I want to ask people. That those people are dying and they're suffering, right? What about sex trafficking? Nobody talks about that. Kids, little girls are getting sex trafficked and branded and stuff. I mean,
how many people die every year of tobacco, cigarettes? They haven't stopped selling them. How many people die of drinking alcohol? Liquor stores here in Florida were an essential business.
Really? That's hilarious. That's awesome. They closed them down here in Bama. They're like, you gotta get your drink somewhere else.
No. We have huge liquor store. Actually, Florida, I think, has the second cheapest liquor in America. I know your state is one of the most expensive.
Really? I did not know that. Did not know that.
Yeah.
Who's the first state?
It would have to be either New York or California, but
interesting. Second cheapest liquor. That makes a lot of sense. That, I mean, it's the paradise place. People go down there to lose themselves. Why not?
Yeah, that's right.
What's the you do a lot of these Zoom calls? What's the biggest conference call you've ever been on? How many people did you have on there? Maybe you said this earlier and I just didn't hear it.
The biggest one I had was, I think there were right at 2,000 people.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah.
So it's like you and there's just all these little square boxes, like Hollywood squares on steroids. Just that's crazy, man. I've seen some of those, like some big business tycoons and motivational speakers and stuff do those Zoom calls, and it's just like, man, the boxes of faces is insane.
Yeah. The screen wouldn't hold them all,
So Jeff, what do you, besides your insurance brokerage company that you do you do anything else on the side? Anything? I mean, obviously you have this clinic. Your wife runs the med spa. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Actually, she does a lot of things. She does, and you've been here.
Yes.
And
awesome place.
She does non-surgical hair restoration, which is one of the big things. Not that you need that, but down the road you might.
Maybe, yeah.
She takes people who, men and women. Actually, she has almost as many female clients as she does male, because women, are everybody's sensitive about their hair. Actually, she has procedures that she does that are cost effective, and she uses their own blood and whatnot to do injections, and she's been successful with nearly every case. She's only had one case where she wasn't successful, but she didn't even expect it to be successful. In fact, she didn't even charge the woman. She just wanted to try it to see if it would work, and it didn't. Yeah, but we since you were here, we actually opened a second location where we have another location about 10 miles up the road, and it's actually in a CrossFit facility. It's way different from this. And that's where we do cryotherapy. We bought a cryogenic chamber where people can go in there and, basically from here down be 250 below zero for 3 minutes. We have it's a cool sculpting like machine. It's not cool sculpting, but it's similar to that machine for toning and whatnot. So that's been going well, and she's actually going to be doing a third location in Tampa in January. Yeah,
you guys are setting up franchises down there, getting people looking good. Have you done the cryotherapy? How was that?
It's great for inflammation, but I will tell you, being in that cryogenic chamber, even at 250 below zero for 3 minutes, is nowhere close to as bad as being submerged in a tub of ice water. Ice water is way worse. If you can stand ice water, you can take this. The cryo is a walk in the park compared to ice water.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten in cold baths and cold pools and stuff like that, and cold showers. I don't think I've ever done an actual ice bath. I'd like to, though. I can imagine it makes you feel more alive I was having this discussion with somebody. They're like, why do you take cold showers? I was like, well, besides all the health benefits, it moves the lymphatic system and all that stuff, and it gets the synapses popping. Taking one cold shower is like the equivalent to like 3 or 4 cups of coffee or something. I was like, but besides that, like you wake up and you hit that cold shower, nothing makes you feel more alive and inside of yourself than that moment. It makes you appreciate the simple things in life. Just one cold shower. And so I try to tell people about that. People are like, well, that may be true, but you're crazy. I'm never doing that. You're crazy ass. That's what people say to me.
Trust me, there's a hell of a lot of things in life people think that they need that they really don't. So just about we didn't do it this year, but almost every year, me and 3 of my friends, one lives in Colorado, another one lives in California, another one lives up in New Hampshire. We go on a fishing trip. Where it's like an odyssey to get there. We all meet in International Falls, Minnesota. We rent a truck. We drive up into northern Ontario, basically till the road ends. It's like a 9-hour drive. And then we get on a float plane and then fly another 2 hours in the float plane. And we land on this enormous lake where there's just a plywood shack, a couple of boats, and you don't see another living soul until the plane comes and picks you up a week later. There's no electricity, none of that. And it's great. And cell phones don't work. Nothing works up there. And so when you get up there, you realize very quickly there's really only a few things that you truly need. There's a whole lot of stuff that you'd like to have, but do you need it? No. It's sad though that, I made the comment to one of the guys one time when I made that observation to him. I said, it's sad though that you have to travel thousands of miles and spend thousands of dollars to find that out.
We have a bad problem with psyching ourselves out about what it is we can handle and what we can take. I hear so many people use the term, I can't do that. There's no way that's possible. And I'm like, you're not really thinking about like the verbiage you're using right now. You really can. You just won't is the difference. There's no can't is like, you know what I'm saying? It's like someone's like, oh, I can't get up and go running in the morning. I'm just not built for that. No, you can. If you didn't have any legs, then maybe you can't,
Right.
But you can, you just won't, And so, yeah, people just make a lot of excuses. People got to toughen up. There's this book called All That Remains. It's like a post-apocalyptic book, but there's a quote in that book that I love to use from time to time, and it says that hard times create strong men or strong people, and strong people create soft times, and soft times create soft people, and soft people create hard times. Something like that. I might be paraphrasing it wrong, but yeah. And then it's very true. Like we created a society of lush fruit, and I think people have they've gotten spoiled. We've gotten spoiled off of it.
Well, we had a group meeting a few years ago, and we had a former Navy SEAL who was speaking there, and he brought up something during his talk that I never thought about. He said, from pain comes comfort, and from comfort comes pain. Okay. So if you're going through painful stuff at the gym, you're going to be pretty comfortable sleeping at night. But if you lay around on your ass and, smoke weed and eat Doritos, which is fun to do, but you can't do it for long because you're going to be pretty painful later. You're going to I can't get up. It's going to be painful. So, and you can apply that principle to anything. Especially with business. I mean, when you go through the pain of doing what you have to do to make money, you get the comfort of having more choices of things that you can do. If you don't do that, then you don't have those choices. Then life is a little more painful.
So, Jeff, we've talked about some really cool stuff. I now want to take it a little bit deeper, I guess. But what are things as you as this big business guy in Florida handling your what do you wrestle with, man? What are things personally that you, Jeff, fight with?
Probably, and this has been much better for me in the past few years than it has been. Um, if you're running a business or you don't even have to be doing that. You can be doing anything. Uh, you get really frustrated, especially in business, if you're running a sales organization like I do. If you operate under the assumption that people see things the same way you do, that's just not true. It's just not. And I've gotten over a lot of that, but I still wrestle with that a lot.
You mean like trying to see something from a different perspective, you mean, and not your own perspective?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's people. I get really frustrated. All right, I'll give you an example. We have thousands of people that I've talked to that have worked with that work within our organization. Okay, um, uh, I've told them all the same thing. I've had very few actually act on it. Um, I've had out of all the ones I've had probably 25 of these people become millionaires, which and some of these guys, I'm as proud of them as I am of anything my own children have done. Okay. Because they actually took action, listened to what I said and put into action and made it work. Um, but most of them have not. I would say, less than 2% of them have. And the frustrating thing for me is seeing there's so much potential in so many of these people, but they have so much self-doubt. They have no self-esteem. They have nothing, where they don't believe in themselves that they can do it. And and what frustrates me too is, at what point do I stop trying to convince them? Because after a while, it just, it's kind of beating a dead horse or running in circles. You get nowhere. So that's to me, that's the most frustrating thing that I deal with.
I guess that speaks to you being a pretty empathetic person then, right? Because these people are working for you and you just want to see them do well and do good and, try to get something accomplished with their life. And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a guy, one time saying, hey, I'm going to make more money than you one day. I said, that's great. I hope you do. I really do. And guess what? Now he does.
does he? Okay.
He does. He does. He does.
Does that make you feel like a proud papa?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. I have, peers that say, doesn't that piss you off? I said, absolutely not. There's always someone better. There's always, I had a friend of mine that came here where I live. He was looking at houses, and he says, "Man, I just looked at this house. It's really, really, really nice." I said, "Well, what are they asking for it?" He says, $3 million. I says, "Well, if you think that's nice, go down to Sarasota. They got some $5 million houses that are even nicer. And if you think that's something, go a little further south of Naples, and they got some that are 12 million that are even nicer than that. And then if you want to look at better than that, go over to Miami, and they got some that are 40 million that are the shit." So there's always something better. But you get to a point, like if you're in a boat, though. I mean, there has to be a point to where you have to be content with what you have, because if you're in a boat, and you've been to my house, I live on the Gulf of Mexico. So when you look out the water, what do you see at the end? The horizon. So let's say if you were here with me and we jumped on the boat and I said, "Hey, Mitchell, let's go out to the horizon and check it out." Would we ever get there?
No, you never. You just you'd keep chasing it.
But if we were in the boat, what would happen? while we're trying to get to the horizon. We'd run out of gas, and then you're stranded, you're screwed. Then you got a whole new set of problems. So it's kind of you have to you have to be you have to find a point to where you're content. I mean, it's like it's like the guy Pena said, money's not the only thing, it's the only thing people keep up with, but it's certainly not the only thing, that's for damn sure. And the older you get, and the half dozen near death experiences I've had, all this crazy stuff I've done traveling, it just, a lot of things just become less and less important. And a lot of things become a lot more important, like talking to my kids and, seeing my grandchildren grow up and that sort of thing. To me, that's more important than money or anything.
What do you think are the most important things in life for you specifically? Like you just said with your children, your grandchildren. Does it go any deeper than that?
I think the most important thing that anybody can have is number one, to have a good relationship with yourself. Most people do not have a good relationship with themselves. If they did, then there wouldn't be so much insecurity in people. There wouldn't be so much self-doubt. Depending on what you believe, the universe, God, Allah, whatever, you are unique. There's nobody been like Mitchell Rullane ever, and there never will be again. Mitchell Rullane is one of a kind. Okay, your DNA patterns are different. That makes you special. Okay, so if you're special, you have some special purpose in life. I don't know what that is. Okay, but you have to know that though, and you have to own it, and you have to not care what other people think. A lot of people, particularly, I grew up in Georgia, you grew up in Alabama. It's kind of the same thing. I grew up in a small town where everybody was always concerned about what so-and-so would think about this or what so-and-so would think about that. But who gives a what they think? Because you know what? They're worried about the same thing, what people are thinking about them. So why care?
I've always had this nonconformist punk rock attitude since as far back as I can remember. Like I want to do the things that make me happy. I don't care if everybody's wearing that shirt. I don't care if they're all listening to that music. If I don't like it, then it doesn't matter. It could fall to ashes as far as I'm concerned.
And that was why, when we were talking before the show started, I was telling you about all the guys wearing the members only jackets, and I had the knockoff that was the only members.
Uh-huh. Did you actually fool people, like kids, and they were like, "Oh crap, I got the wrong jacket"? Did you catch any of those?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And then did they go out and get an only members jacket?
But they had to buy them from my dad. He was the only guy that had them. He bought like a whole shipping container full of these things.
That's a fun story. That's so funny. I've actually done things like that out in real life just to test people because I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm a sociopath. I don't know. But I've done things just to see if other people would follow suit. Things that weren't legit, things that weren't sincere, just to see if other people would follow suit. And they do. It's like every time. It's crazy the way people just, they go with the flow. They go with the tide.
I bet everybody listening to this has gotten the scam Social Security call where you're, from the auto dialer. And this stuff has been going on for a couple of years. Do you know why they're going? Because they're working. There's some, and I was actually reading a thing in the Wall Street Journal about that a few months ago. And oddly enough, you would think that senior citizens would be the ones that are giving up this info. The vast majority of the ones that are millennials.
That offends me, Jeff. I'm a millennial. I'm very offended that you said that. I'm canceling you. You're canceled, Jeff. No, it's funny. It's really I also something I'd like to do. I feel like you do this too. I love to people watch too, man. I just like to watch people and their environments, and it's almost like watching, like when you're young coming up, you watch those National Geographics where they're showing the lions and they're following them and what they do and their prides and stuff. I feel like with humans it's the same way, but it's more fascinating to me because we are much more advanced than lions and we're smarter, but we fall for the same kind of just, I don't know, primitiveness, I guess.
So speaking of which, I have a really funny story to tell you about people falling for something. You're talking about lions. This happened a long time ago. I do business with Mutual of Omaha, who had the Wild Kingdom show, and I was out in Omaha one year, and they gave me this really cool T-shirt that had a tiger on it, and it had Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Well, I was in Houston, getting ready to fly back to Atlanta. Had the flight was 4 hours delayed, so of course I was sitting in the Delta Sky Lounge drinking, and I was wearing a suit. I took the suit off, put on shorts, and I had this Wild Kingdom shirt. So I'm pretty liquored up when I get on the plane. So I sit down on the plane, and this woman, really nicely well-dressed woman, sits right across the aisle from me. And she turns around and looks at my shirt, and she says, does that still come on television? I said, why, yes, it does. We feature it 5 nights a week at 8 p.m. on Animal Planet. She says, well, do you work for the show? Do you work for the show? I said, yeah, I sure do. Are you a producer? I said, oh, no. I'm not a producer or cameraman. I really wish I was. I kind of work with the animals. Well,
You
what do
just
you
kept
mean
this
work
going.
with the, she says, well, what do you mean you work with the animals? It's supposed to be the Wild Kingdom. I said, well, we'd like for you to think that, but you know how hard it is to get those shots? I said, I said, let me give you an example. Have you ever been to the zoo? Well, yeah, of course I've been to the zoo. Have you ever seen the lions at the zoo? I said, the lions are pretty lazy. Have you ever seen a lion running around? Usually they're just sitting there laying on their ass, yawning or sleeping, doing nothing. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. I said, well, have you ever seen a lion on our show where the lion is running across the savannah and he's running so hard that his ass is hitting the ground, just running? Well, yeah, it seems like I've seen something like that. I said, well, you see, that's where I come in. I said, if we need a shot of the lion running across the savannah real fast, I go to the cage and I raise his tail and I wipe turpentine on his ass and he takes off running. And I said, and the reason why his ass is hitting the ground is because he's trying to knock the turpentine off his ass. That's why he's doing that. And she says, well, don't you think that's really cruel? I said, of course it's cruel. I said, look what happened to me. I cut my finger off when I was 7 years old. I said, look what that bastard did to me. I said, the hell with the lion. What about me? I'll never play the piano because of this.
I love how you put the finger in there as proof to her. Now she's completely not doubting it. She's like, oh, he's telling the truth. His finger's missing. Holy shit, I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah.
You scallywag, Jeff. How dare you? You dupe that lady. That poor sweet lady. That's good stuff. Jeff, what do you, if you, one day when people look back on you, when you're long gone, hopefully, which won't be for a very long time, my friend, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? When people speak about Jeff, what do you want them to say?
Well, the legacy I'd like to leave, is my children and the ones I love to know that I lived on my own terms, and I really hope that in so much as that because my father definitely did, lived on his own terms, probably more than I do, but and you have choices out there. You really do. And, a lot of people either don't know they have choices or they're too fearful to make the choices, either because of what other people think or they're afraid to go through whatever pain is associated with that choice. But sometimes it's hard to know what the right thing to do is, but once you know what the right thing to do is, it's hard not to do it. At least it is for me. So that's kind of the legacy that I would like to leave for them, is to live a life with integrity, and to live life on their own terms, and to enjoy life, because it really is an adventure. You can't live in the past. You can't really worry about the future too much. I mean, all you're guaranteed is here and now.
Yeah. There's that cliche saying, the cheesy saying. It's like, that's why they call it present, because it's a gift.
That's right. Well, it really is.
On that note, boom. That's like the cherry on top of the sundae. This is a good show. Thanks for hanging out with us, Jeff.
Brother,
been
thanks
really good.
for having me, man.
I hope
really
you had
enjoyed
fun shooting the breeze with me on here.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully people
I'm
get
real
a lot of
proud
stuff.
of you too, man. You're doing great.
Well, I thank you for that. I'm trying, we're trying to do something. We're trying to create something here. Create a piece. And I'm trying to grab a piece of the pie for myself too,
Hey, in a couple of years, you'll be moving right next door to Rogan.
I hope so, man. I hope so. God willing. So let me go ahead and get you to plug in your businesses. If anybody's looking to get into some life insurance, or if they're in your area in Clearwater, Dunedin, and they want to come get some good health therapy going on, go ahead and plug in your things for people that get a hold of you.
We're always looking for new people that want to pursue a good career. And we offer a really solid plan with what we do. You can go to our website. It's agentsalesgroup.com. 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 You can go in there and hit the contact. Just put on there that we that you heard about this on Mitchell's show, and make sure you leave the phone number on there, and Gary will get that to me, and I'll personally call them. Then the other thing too, if it doesn't have to be anybody that lives around here. Anybody that's that's concerned about getting their hair to grow back or whatever. Tampa, Florida is a real easy place to get to. Our web address here at the clinic is Wright, WRIGHT, aesthetics.com, wrightaesthetics.com. We'd love to help you in either way.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for putting that out there. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a great episode with a good buddy of mine, Jeff. Jeff, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You are a wise guy, but you are a fun, wise guy. You've got a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, but you do it in such a fun-loving way, man. And I appreciate you for that. Also, you're super generous. I got to thank you again. Some people listening, I went down to Florida. I went to go visit Jeff. Him and his wife put me up. They put me in a nice room. He paid for my meals, and he took me on a boat ride. He showed me where Tom Cruise gets off at. But they're very hospitable, and he's a great person. You're really good guy, Jeff. I'm glad we're friends. I'm glad we met, man. And I can't wait to see you again, to meet up with you again. Hopefully we can do that sometime soon in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know I did. It's always great talking to Jeff. He's a very wise person. If you listen to the words he says, there's so many hard truths, but good truths to it. And I feel like we need to apply things to ourselves like that in life. We have to apply ourselves more and really put things into perspective and be stronger, get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes being in fear and being in danger, not, strict danger, can be good for you. And I feel like it's really important. It helps you grow, Struggle is manhood, right? Check us out on YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow our audio platform. Give us some love on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And as always, tell me, what do you wrestle with? And how can you beat it? One love.